I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening to everyone. Welcome to our regular February board meeting on this beautiful last day of February. We are going to start this meeting with an invocation by Larry Nunley from the Airport Freeway Church of Christ. Mr. Nunley.
Thank you so much. If everybody would get out their Bibles and turn to Matthew. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wrong place. Let us bow. Dear God in heaven, we're so thankful to you for allowing us to come to you at this moment. Thank you for allowing us to call you Father. Thank you for allowing us to be your children. We ask you specifically at this time that you look down upon this prayer. We ask you to bless this world. Bless everything that's going on in it. We ask you, Lord, that you have mercy, send your forgiveness, send your love, your patience, your peace. We ask you to bless this room and bless this meeting, that everything that's on the agenda that may be covered, we ask you to put your blessings on it. Touch everyone here, no matter what we're going through, no matter who we are, that you allow us, Lord, to think peace and fellowship. Bless us, watch over us. Bless everyone on the board. Bless everyone listening. In Jesus' name, I say thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. Next, we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led this evening by Chanel Walls and Steve Witten from Stonegate Elementary. Y'all could come up. Just stand right up here, and you can just start with the American pledge and get us started. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, if you guys could stay up here for just a second, I have certificates for you. Let's see, Chanel, this one's for you, and they're going to take some pictures of you. So if parents want to come up, you can feel free to come up in the middle. And Stephen, here's one for you. Thank you for doing our pledge this evening. Let's see, Chanel is an enthusiastic learner who enjoys being at school. She also exhibits a positive outlook and attitude in the classroom. Chanel is a track runner who enjoys reading Harry Potter books and playing basketball outside. Stephen is a high achiever in advanced academics classes. He is always good friends to others. He always has a positive attitude and shows true leadership skills. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in its regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on the items included in the posted agenda. The board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the board. There will be 2 open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 is to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum number 2 is to hear requests or make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation, if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that the speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located in the table in the entry hall. We are ready for open forum 1, and we have no cards for that. So for the board's information, we have tried a little rearrangement of the agenda this time. We have moved up considering the approval for donations off of the consent agenda and moved it up here so that in the future when we go into closed session, it might take a while, that folks don't have to wait out here for us to come back. So the next item is consider approval of donations. This is an action item, so I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the February 2022 donations as presented.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve the February 2022 donations as presented. Please vote. And that passes. So at this time, we will pass out certificates to those who have made donations.
First up, we have Board Member Andy Cargile, who has a certificate for EECU. This is for a $1,000 donation that is going towards the Better Together Employee Appreciation Program. And tonight we have Jerry Cantu and Donna Thomas, along with Deanne Hollander, to accept the certificate. Next up, we have Board Member Chris Brown, who has a certificate for RBFCU and PR marketing, a $1,000 donation towards the Better Together Employee Appreciation Program. We have Janine Castanon and Deanne Hollander that will accept the certificate. Next up, Mr. Fred Campos has a certificate for the Rotary Club of Hurst-Euless-Bedford Charitable Foundation. This is an $1,800 donation to the school libraries towards HEB Reads books, and Dr. Joe Harrington will accept the award whether he knows it or not. Next up, we have Rochelle Ross, and she has a certificate to present to Pegan and Michael Standish. This is a $5,000 donation to Oakwood Terrace Elementary to be used for employee incentives. And we have nice to have you here. Thank you. I had Darla Clark, who probably didn't know she was supposed to be up here. Better. And then we have a mysterious donation of $1,000 from somebody named Anonymous. This is going to Trinity High School for the choir trip to help pay for student travel, and Mike Harris is going to accept this very generous anonymous donation. And then Mr. Ramiro has a certificate for Diana Minnick. This is a $750 donation towards Trinity High School gymnastics. And Mike Harris is coming back up. And you should stay there, Mike, because we have a $500 donation for from Top Tech Electric to Trinity High School wrestling tournament. This is a $500 donation. And I think we have some other folks from wrestling here. Come on up. All told, that's a grand total of donations this evening of $11,050. Thank you to all of you.
All right, thank you for all those generous donations. At this time, I'm going to go back up to superintendent comments. Mr. Chapman, was there anything you needed to tell the board?
There are no comments, and all of the clarifications were shared in the Friday update.
Okay, well, next we will review the board activity chart. And I'll start with me, Ms. Cole.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we've been doing basketball games. Very excited that both the girls, Trinity and Bell teams, made it into the playoffs. And unfortunately, in the third round, they had to play one another, which meant somebody was going to advance, but somebody wasn't. So Bell advanced, and we're very proud of them. I didn't attend Trinity Wrestling, but since they're in the room, I want to be sure and make note of how proud we are of your wrestling team, and how well they did at state, coming in runner-up. Very, very proud of that. So I can't take any credit for that because I didn't get to be there, but I know that it was a really exceptional performance. Saturday night, I did get to attend the Trinity Harmony show, encore show, and I've been to many encore shows, not as many as Mr. Cargill, but I'm probably the second most, and it was one of the best. And of course, the students and the alumni from Trinity Choir did a great job of honoring Mr. Dean in his final encore before his retirement, and it was just a really, really special night. Just really, I can't say enough good things about that choir program and about what Mr. Dean has done at Trinity High School. And my family has benefited from it, and so it's especially important to me. That's enough.
Ms. Ross?
Lots of fun things as usual. Our board ambassadors have had a couple classes, and it's been fun to watch them come along. Several of us attended the Six Stones Catalyst of Hope lunch, and that was great because Dr. Harrington was honored along with some of our Trinity kids. It was really neat to see the kids there. I didn't know that club existed, so it was fun to meet them. We also had the Founders Day, the PTA Founders Day luncheon last week, and that was super special as always. Went to Trinity Harmony, loved it. I agree with Ms. Cole. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I got to read to the first grade classes at Spring Garden. You know, those are my favorite kids. They're so tiny and they were so fun. I got to read to 2 classes. And I think one of the greatest things that we get to do as board members is hand deliver the employee banquet invitations. My first year, I remember thinking, I'm not quite sure what to do, and I probably didn't do it very well, but now I look forward to it. I make sure that I schedule enough time at each school to visit with people as much as I can. So all of mine, except a few, have been delivered, and it's one of the greatest things that we get to do. So I can't wait to see everybody at the banquet. And I think that's it.
So just to piggyback, I agree with Rochelle. It is one of the cool things that we get to do as board members is we get to attend beyond campus and cheer our teachers that have served 5, 10, 15, 20 years in our district and the Teacher of the Year. And it's just wonderful to go into a classroom and announce to the students that you were there to honor their teacher and have a round of applause for them. I agree. That's a wonderful experience. The only other thing I want to add is, board, thank you so much. I've been attending Leadership TASB, and since we've talked last, I've been down at Corpus Christi, and it's just wonderful to spend 3 or 4 days with fellow trustees throughout the state of Texas and really get a different perspective of how blessed we are. Staff, you guys do an amazing job. Everybody always talks about HEB. Everybody asks us questions. You guys are definitely and the best of the best, and it's neat to see that and to share with other trustees and see what's going on in our state and work together, learn together, and it's just been awesome. And at some point in the future, when I make my next trip, I'll give you some slides about it, but it's awesome.
Mr. Brown? Pass. Mr. Cargill?
Well, besides all the stuff that they went to, I mentioned that I judged the chili cook-off at Wilshire Elementary. I'm just now recovering. But I would like to mention the wrestling coach. Actually, I've been to your tournament, snuck in and snuck out, so, I was anonymous then. But he puts on a tournament at Trinity in the indoor, and it's become nationally known. A huge event. It's great for parents, it's great for kids. But I took a picture that day, and I think I've shown that picture 100 or more times to different people to show them the advantage that we have at Trinity and such a great wrestling program that you put on. And I want to thank you for what you do at Trinity. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
I want to come back around because I forgot one important thing. In HBISD, a couple of weeks ago, we hosted the TASB Legislative Agenda Grassroots Meeting for Region 11. We hosted it at the Buinger Academy, and we had 30, 40 board members from around our region who all gathered to help to build the legislative agenda for the upcoming session. And that's just the first step. There's many steps to come. But it was a real honor to be able to host it here. It was a much more convenient location in Region 11 than the Service Center at 6 o'clock at night when people had a long way to go. So we were just real honored to be able to host that.
Well, you stole my last one. So.
Oh, sorry.
No, but I wanted to thank Julie and thank Ty for working to put that on and helping us be such great hosts because everybody really enjoyed it. And of course, we have a big advantage with the location we are being so centrally located that it was easy for everyone to get here. So they all appreciated that. All right, thank you, board. We are down to awards and recognitions. So this time I'd like to introduce our student ambassadors who are here with us tonight. If you two could come up to the microphone. Tonight, we have two student ambassadors, and those of you who don't know, our student ambassadors are really our student face of the district. They go to all different kinds of events and either work the door or help welcome people, and it's always a great pleasure to meet them and have them here at our board meetings, and we always like to ask them a question. So tonight our two student ambassadors are Annie Davenport, who's a senior at Trinity, and Elizabeth Tomoloju, who's a Trinity at senior as well. And the question that we have for you tonight, because we always like to ask a question and get you all's feedback, is how has your time as a student ambassador informed or changed your opinion of public service?
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Tomoloju. I'm a rising senior at Trinity High School, and this is my second year as a student ambassador, and how it's helped me in learning more about public service is that public service goes beyond just representing one particular demographic, because before I was a student ambassador, I had a very narrow-minded view of public service. I thought it was just about my peers and helping my fellow students. But now that I've had the opportunity of being able to serve in many different events in the community, I know that I can help many people in the community, not just a certain group of people. And this showed in the Catalyst for Hope luncheon that we had. I'm a member of the BACU, and it was a pleasure meeting you all there and just being able to have that time to meet with the volunteers in the community and people who have also been able to be public servants. That was an amazing experience. And so just opportunities like that, I have the courage and the ability to do that because of the Student Ambassador Program, because it's helped me to grow as a public servant. So yeah.
Elizabeth, for the benefit of the board members that were not at that luncheon, can you tell us what your group is, the full name of your group, and why you were given that award at that luncheon?
So our group name is the Black African Cultural Union, and we participated in the CPR volunteer program, which is where we went to houses and we helped to renovate them for people who were either in like the military or elderly people who could no longer afford those services. And so we helped them to renovate their homes. And we were awarded the Next Generation Award, which was the award for, I guess, for our generation and helping with community, helping in the community. So.
Yeah, you're rising leaders. That's important.
And we want to come visit, so remember, you have to tell us when you meet, because I think
Yes,
me and
ma'am.
Ms. Cole both want to come visit, so let us know.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I wish I had Elizabeth's courage of speaking without notes, but I'm something that we base most of our ambassador program off of is strengths. And as Ms. Royer knows, a lot of my strengths gather upon organization and analytical, and I'm just very oriented. So sorry for this very coordinated speech. Hers was so heartfelt, but here you go. Good evening. So this year, the Student Ambassador Program has taught me many things, including how to form relationships with my peers, how to go about an uncommon or unfamiliar situation, but most importantly, this program has truly shined a light upon the workers of HEB. I've gone to school in this district since I was 5 years old, yet I never saw just how spectacular it was till I was exposed to the stories and emotions of its workers. I learned more about the public service in this beautiful community in the past 8 months than I have in the past 13 years. This program and the people who run it have allowed me to be more familiar with the school district that I call my home. I will always be amazed and appreciative of the time I spent here with the teachers and the parents, the custodians, and many others helping me feel safe and loved.
All right. Thank you so much, Annie. We appreciate you all being here, and thank you for those answers. And, great job. Let's see. Next, we'd like to talk with our district spelling bee winners.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I don't lose my voice, but I just wanted to take a moment and talk about our spelling bee winner and runner-up who are here this evening. We're very, very proud of them, and the reason that we're so proud is I want you to know all of the hard work that they do to get here. So it's not just an easy road. So they have a lot of studying to do. The first step that they have to do is they have to pass and win their classroom or preliminary competition in order to even be entered into their Campus Bee. And then they have their Campus Bee, and we have one winner and one runner-up from each of the Campus Bees. And then our 21 elementaries and 5 junior highs each have send the winner to our Area Bee. So that's 26 participants at the Area Bee. And they have to spell words like Quasimodo, and Fata Morgana, and Justacor. And so they spell these very difficult words, and some of them, honestly, was my first time to hear them. So, but this year, our spelling bee was held on January 21st. It was a Friday, and our winning word was romaine. That was the word that was the winning word. So our winner this year is Sanjana Vijayan, and she is an 8th grader at Central Junior High. You can come on up. Also attended Euless Junior High and Midway Park. She is 14 years old, and she loves to participate in the spelling and geography bees. She loves world geography. She loves, she works very hard and puts a lot of effort into everything she does. She's a very caring person and a loving person. And she loves to paint her nails and dress up. She does, doesn't she? Okay, her future goal is to become an engineer, and she wants to build her own app and video game. And she will be competing next Tuesday, March 8th, at the Regional Spelling Bee at TCU. And we wish her much success as she competes for a spot in the National Spelling Bee. Okay. And our runner-up this year, we are also very proud of our runner-up, is Jalen Amari Ndunde. He was born on September 7th in 2009 at Harris Methodist Hospital right here in Bedford. He is 12 years old. His family consists of a little sister and his parents. He attends Harrison Lane Elementary and is in the 6th grade. He is very excited about junior high. He has loved participating in the spelling bee ever since 4th grade, so this makes his 3rd time. And he states that his greatest accomplishment is in winning the spelling bee at his school last year. He said that seeing the broad smiles on his parents' faces brought him so much joy. He is fascinated with technology and computer science, and he started to learn how to code in HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. One day, he would love to create an app that helps autistic children unleash their potential in learning. I know. His hobbies include swimming and playing video games. Congratulations, Jalen.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to our winner and to our runner-up. That's such a huge accomplishment. This isn't a small district, and to be win the spelling bee in a district this size, that's a great accomplishment. So you should be very proud of yourself, and we're all very proud of you as well. And good luck at the regionals. Can't wait to hear how you did. Okay, at this time we would be going into closed session, but we don't need to right now. So we're going to go down to action item 9.01. Consider approval of employment recommendations. I will accept the motion.
Not prepared.
I move that the board approve the employments as submitted.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the employments as submitted. Any discussion? I will please vote. And that motion passes. Our next motion is 9.02, consider selection of lone finalists for superintendent of schools. I will accept the motion.
I move that the board approve Dr. Joe Harrington as the lone finalist for superintendent of schools.
I have a motion and a second that the board approves Dr. Joe Harrington as the lone finalist for superintendent of schools. Please vote.
Oh, there it is. The suspense is, we totally needed Jeopardy.
And that motion passes. Congratulations, Dr. Harrington.
We've been excited for this day for a long time, Dr. Harrington. We're very sad to see Mr. Chapman go, but I personally, I won't speak for the rest of the board, but very excited for the next chapter in this district. And it's going to be a long few weeks here, I'm sure, waiting for the final approval, but we're very excited about it.
Yeah, so that everybody knows there's now a 21-day waiting period until we can vote again onto making things official. So, all right. Next, we are down to presentations. 6 Stones Dashing for Hope. Ms. Coburn.
Good evening, Board. I am very honored to be here tonight as the Chief Development Officer of 6 Stones to present a thank you to HEBISD for their participation in our Dashing for Hope program. And for those who don't know, Dashing for Hope is our big fundraiser for Night of Hope. And Night of Hope serves over 3,000 HEBISD students and provides their families with Christmas dinner and Christmas gifts for every child in their family, whether they're in school or not. And so we're very proud to offer that. This year, the Dashing for Hope program raised over $110,000. And that means that 1,692 HEBISD students were funded through that one fundraiser. So we just are so thankful to you guys. And you know, what do we get the district that has everything? You guys have lots of, you know, baubles, lots of trophies, lots of things like that. So we went to one of our schools that benefits a lot from the Night of Hope program, Bel Air Elementary, and we talked to their art teacher, and so they prepared a nice thank you card for you guys, just specially for you, that says HEB, and I just want to read the inside. It says, "Thank you, Hurst-Euless-Bedford ISD. We are so grateful for your part in Dashing for Hope. Thank you for always supporting HEBISD students and families. From Miranda H." And it was Miranda Hinojosa at Bel Air Elementary. And I just do want to mention one little shout out to Mariana Royer because she absolutely was the MVP for, there's Mariana. She was the MVP. It was my first year putting on Dashing for Hope, and I absolutely could not have done it without Mariana and her expertise and her willingness to work. So that's just such a trademark of HEBISD students and employees, that they're willing to get in there and work and do the best they can. So I'm going to pass this around to you guys, and thank you so very much.
And thank you so much, and thank you for everything that Six Stones does for all of our students and our whole community. We really appreciate you. Okay, we are down to the consent agenda. Are there any items that any board member would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. Okay, well,
Okay.
all right, okay, well, do we have a report that we have all voted yes? That motion passes. The consent agenda passes. We are now down to item 12.01, disbursements for the month of January 2022. Any questions on this item? All right, report on resignations and retirements. Any questions? All right, Ms. Norgard, District Benchmark Assessments. Dr. Norgard. Sorry.
All is well. Hi, good evening. I am bringing some data to you this evening for secondary ELA, in particular our 7th and 8th grade reading DBA 2. And we also have Ms. Terry Smith here, our secondary language arts coordinator, if there are any questions beyond my scope that she can help us out with for ELA. Just reminders, these are interim data indicators towards our strategic plan regarding meets and master's grade level on STAR. And a little context as we jump from subject to subject and grade to grade. For junior high ELA, we were in the middle of 1920, before we went into shutdown, of implementing new TEKS and new instructional materials. So we didn't get all the way through that first year of our new materials. Also to keep in mind for this year's analysis, we've done some shifting in the DBA schedules for 2 reasons. We've now moved, as we talked a little last year, that this was coming of, instead of separate reading and writing tests in 7th grade, there's one integrated language arts test. So that also shifted the way that we do DBAs. We used to do 2 writing and 1 reading DBA. Now we're just focused on this reading DBA with writing integrated. But also for 8th grade, as we've moved away from the multiple test administrations with the Student Success Initiative, we used to test 8th grade earlier in the year. It now moves, their regular STAR exam is later in the year, so we shifted our DBA so that we can hopefully line it up better to when that test would take place. And just a reminder that when we look at the trend data, we only included our traditional rather than our OLO students from last year, as those were our more consistent data points. So here's looking at that data. So you can see the year that we implemented the new TEKS and new materials, we did see some slight drops from the year before, and actually very small compared to other areas when we were in last year, and so many students still in virtual, and all of our digital learning had other small drops, but we see that recovering really nicely this year. And in fact, it tested earlier, if you look at the date given, because I mentioned those shifting test lines. So testing earlier, we see improvements at all 3 levels, approaches, meets, and masters, and we are drawing close to our minimum incremental gains for our performance objectives targets, where we expect to be when our students test in May. So here, if you look at the year-to-year trend data, different groups of 7th graders, and you can see that some years we had more data points than others, either because we were in the time when we had writing DBAs as well, so we only had 1 Reading DBA in 18-19, we had a year we didn't get to give STAR. But if you really look at the 2021 school year, this was a different group of 7th graders, but this is the kind of pattern that we usually see. We just grow that DBA 1, DBA 2, and up to STAR. So when you see where we are so far with this year's 7th graders, DBA 1, we see the increase to DBA 2 like we expect, and we need a little more increase when those students get to the STAR test this spring. So very much following our typical pattern to reach our goal. This now, instead of different groups of 7th graders, this is this year's 7th graders going all the way back from when they were in 3rd grade and how they performed at reading. So we've definitely seen some little ups and downs, ebbs and flows with these students as they've moved through. Really, last year they were fairly flat. I did point out, as we just had some discussion recently, last year due to some technology problems, we didn't administer DBA 1 as expected. We had a 1.5. That's why I circled that. It was a little bit out of the norm for our data points. But you can see, even though fairly flat across last year as 6th graders, they've come in at 7th grade. They kind of maintained where they left off at the end of 6th grade and are just climbing for us. So we have a little more climbing to go to hit those targets. So responding to this data, it's moving in a great direction. What are we doing to keep it moving, to get that next step we need for the STAR exam? And our secondary ELA team has actually developed an app. It was kind of interesting to hear our spelling bee winners that both are interested in developing apps. So we now have an ELA app for our secondary programs where the teachers can go in and help them target. Here's some skills you can work on. It's very engaging for the students. They can track their own performance. And also, we're continuing to strengthen that reading-writing connection. The writing's not a separate test, but now, how do I respond in writing to the things that I have read? So those are our biggest moving points as we continue to look towards growing between DBA 2 and STAR. For 8th grade, actually the year of the new TEKS, when we implemented those, they held their own at approaches, and we were even seeing gains with our 8th graders at this point in the year before we went into shutdown. But then last year, we did see some losses across all 3 levels. But again, they're coming back for us. We slightly later administration. This was because the test is going to be later. They'll test in May instead of April. But when you look at those targets, we're there. So we still have time to grow, but we're already hitting those targets that we had set as minimum goals for STAR exam this year. So we see the fairly typical growth pattern. We have more data points at 8th grade over these years. In fact, the year of the shutdown, that was like the last thing they did before going off on spring break and not coming back that year. And again, you can see in the current year on the far right that we're already there at our target level. This is this group of 8th graders across years back from 4th grade. This is kind of the typical pattern. They grow across a year. We come back into the next year. We're going to dip back down and grow some more. We come into the new year and we dip back down. So that's what they've done. They may have started off lower than where they left 7th grade, but they're growing right back and beyond those points. And really the same interventions, they're working in 7th grade. They are working for us in 8th grade as well with that ELA app and continuing to strengthen the reading and writing connection. So do you have any questions about 7th or 8th grade ELA?
Any questions on these?
I have one question, Dr. Norgard. I'm looking at slide 5 that has the columns breaking out approaches and meets and masters percentages.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
What did the students have to score in order to meet those different thresholds?
Off the top of my head, I know I can get that information for you in the Friday update. Terry, do you remember the thresholds? It's usually 60-ish% correct for approaches. I don't want to give you the wrong information. I will look it up and give it to you.
That'd be fantastic. And when you do, can you tell me what those thresholds compared to last year?
Okay. We did not, we used for our DBA, we used last year's thresholds that were set for STAR.
You know, there are some parents who are concerned about watering down the tests. But what we can say is we're still holding them to the same standards as last year.
We do. That's our process every year. The state freezes the scale score for approaches, meets, and masters, but every year they publish a document that tells you what raw score, what % correct you have to be to get that scale score. It varies usually only by 1 or 2 questions, but we always use the most recent released
Thank you.
So, excuse me, Holly. I know you've told us before, but tell me again, because I've forgotten. Why did we drop the online learners out of this slide, or out of these slides?
Okay, for our historical data, when we got all the way to STAR last year, we did a lot of research on our data. We've looked before at, you have asked in this group, how well does our DBA predict our STAR performance? And last year for our traditional students, it was as tightly correlated as it has been in previous years. But for our online students, it actually was a negative relationship versus the traditional only seemed to be holding that pattern. There were some concerns about the accuracy of the online scores, so we wanted to keep the trend line that followed our typical trend line.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Norgard.
Okay.
All right, systematic design for the transition center conversion. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. As you'll recall, back in our November facilities meeting, we brought one of the projects we brought to the board at that time was the repurposing of the transition center, which is the building directly behind this building, to transition that or change that into a building that'll be more useful, better purpose for the district. So since then, we've been working with Huckabee Architects to come up with that schematic design, and we have that for you tonight. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce you, or Ms. Aubrey Slaybaugh with Huckabee Architects, and she will do the presentation.
All right, good evening. I feel like it's been a little while since I've been up here, so
It's been a while.
it's good to see you all again. Like Dobie mentioned, this is our update for the Transition Center. We've met with Holly and with Terry on the technology side and a few different times and kind of looked through, where this project's headed. So in this narrative, you'll have that for your record. I'm going to walk through all that within the coming slides, but that way you've got it to go back to. So I'm going to start here with the site plan. Context, admin building. The building here in orange is the transition center. What we are planning to do at the site level is there's an L-shaped building, and this wing off to the left here has quite a bit of slab settlement that would be very expensive to repair. So we are actually going to demolish that portion of the building, and we will kind of connect some of the driveways that are there right now, and that will provide a good loading and unloading area from the storage spaces for the curriculum and technology departments that you'll see when we get to the floor plan. Other than that, it's an interior renovation, so pretty minor site scope here. Just for quick reference, this is the demolition plan. Everything in the dashed lines is what is being demolished, and what is in the solid lines is what is remaining. So we've kind of done a cut line here so it would fit on the page, but this area here at the top is the area that is being demolished completely, and then the left side of this plan is pretty much a full gut. It's going to be converted into some storage space. And then the area here in the middle is some office space, and we're keeping as much of that as absolutely possible. Probably the biggest reconfiguration is continuing this corridor through here to meet current code requirements, and then doing some reconfiguration for handicap accessible restrooms. And then on the right, we're completely gutting this area for technology that you'll see on the new plan here as well. So this is the updated plan with this place here on the north having been demolished. This is the remaining portion of the building. Again, here on the left, that's an old gym. That's going to be for the technology department for storage. And then this large space here will be for the curriculum department for storage. We're going to do some chain link cages, basically, so that they can segment their storage needs by department, different areas of curriculum. And so we haven't finalized that layout yet, but that's what this open space is going to be. We've got the existing electrical room to remain, and then we're building a new technology closet for the data racks. Everything in orange like I mentioned, are the offices, and this will be for the curriculum department to use. We've got 2 new restrooms here in the middle, and then in the lighter orange, we've got the workroom and break room to support those office spaces. And then to the right, after we've gutted everything out, this is just going to be an open space for the technology department to use for deliveries. This is where they're going to image all of the new computers that come into the district and then get sent back out. So there will be 4 cubicles here for those people that office here, and then some workspace and just some open space to accept deliveries. I believe this is currently happening over at Keys, not the Century Room, but next to the Century Room or somewhere over there, I think. So that'll be moving over to this building. And then wanted to give you an update on the cost. As presented in November, total project cost was just over $2 million. You can see we're at 2.7 now. So it has gone up some. I think a good portion of that is the abatement scope was unknown at that point. And once that was found, we're actually having to tear out all of the drywall in the entire building and go back in with new drywall. And so there is some added scope as a result of that was not in the original estimate. And our mechanical and electrical estimates have come back a little bit higher than what we originally anticipated, and the site estimate is also a little bit higher. The site scope, I think, was not really developed at the time in November. We kind of had some rough conversations, but hadn't really talked about that. So those are probably the biggest changes that have gotten us to the 2.7. This does include contingency cost and furniture costs that may or may not all be needed. So hopefully this is the worst case, and we can still find some cost savings in here. And then as far as schedule goes, tonight is the end of the schematic design phase, as noted, so that's why we're bringing this to you for approval in your next meeting. And then we are going to start right away on construction documents and get those ready to be sent out for permitting and for bid. And so those will be ready in mid-April, and they will go out for permitting and bid. And hopefully we will bring to you a contractor to award at your May board meeting. And then construction, it's a really interesting market right now. And as part of this project, it does include a new roof and new HVAC units. And the roof is one of those unpredictable variables right now as far as availability of materials. Some people get lucky and find it in a few weeks, but the majority of people, it's 6 to 9 months until you can get roofing materials on hand. Finding a sole source provider for insulation, roofing, and fasteners is a real challenge right now. So if everything went great, this project would easily be done before the end of the year. No problem. But in the market that we're in, we're just going to have to play it by ear and see what the general contractor is able to get a hold of and what their subs are and able to get a hold of. So it's possible that you all award this in May, and the project may sit for 3 months just while materials are coming in, and then we start construction. Because unfortunately, none of the renovation can start until that roof is replaced. So that's got to be the first thing that happens. So best case, it's done by the end of this year, but it's quite possible that it goes into the first quarter of 23. So we will keep you updated on that. That's a little bit different than what we normally get to present to you all. So any questions on any piece of it?
Any questions for Aubrey?
I have one for Steve.
Okay.
Who goes in the 15 offices?
Oh, that was mine.
Well, that was quick.
He's been working on the project.
You see how quick he pointed?
So the curriculum facilitators and our teachers on special assignment, if we can put them in the office, we have them, they're in the curriculum office that we have, or the facilitator office we have, but we have had to bleed over into D1. Same thing with technology. Technology is, we've lost the 2 North labs that they use as we've had to office people and use those offices. So this space gives us space for those. It gets us out of FEW, and also when they were doing their imaging, there were times they had to take over 1 or 2 of the C rooms. So we'll recover a lot of that room, those space back at Pat May.
Will anybody in this building go over there?
No, it's people over there, but again, it gives us D1 back. I mean, we have people officing in their conference room at Pat May. so we can get a lot of rooms back to their original purpose.
Any other questions?
So Aubrey, we're demolishing a portion of the west portion of the building. Is that portion of the building in worse shape than the rest of the building?
It is, yeah. It would be significant repair to take care of that side of it. There is some minor repair that needs to be done just to level some areas out on the portion that's remaining. But I think it's doable within the estimate that we're showing.
You're confident in the bones of the rest of the building?
Yeah, our structural team has been out there and evaluated it. Yes, I
Okay.
think there's life left.
Okay. And the $700,000 increase in cost is still a better deal than raising the whole building and building it new?
Yes, if you were to do a new building of this size, you're looking in the $4 to $5 million range.
And Dobie, the extra $700,000 is still coming from locally defined capital project fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so the board knows, of course, in order to stay on the schedule, I've asked Mr. Chapman to add this to our next work session meeting. So that gives you a week. If you have any questions, you can contact Mr. Chapman and get any questions answered, and then it'll be on our next agenda to vote on.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, quarterly reports for quarter one. This is for board reports. So I had texted some of you and asked you to get something ready. So you want to start, Fred?
Sure. Glad Don is here. No. We met with Lydia today. And, Don Jordan Wells. Okay. Okay, good to know. No, I met with Lydia and Steve, and based on our consentagram last time, we were focusing and fine-tuning, which we will present to you very soon. Our focus first off, our board advocacy goal is, our board goal is advocacy. And so while we're not going to not focus on everything we put together for transitional funding, and we got some bullet points for you guys, and we'll have some stuff out for it. But we're definitely on target and ready to go, and we'll have some sheets for you guys, and I'm pretty excited about it.
All right, thank you.
I'll go, and you can add anything you want, Julie.
Okay.
Okay. Julie and I met with Lydia and Steve. We kicked off the year with a couple hours and then thought we should do it again because we had so much fun. So we got back together, got the band back together again for a second time. We're on the continuous improvement goal board team. We've laid out what our plans are for the year. I think we have 3 or 4 different benchmarks that we need to hit throughout the year to bring back reports to the board, but we've got all of that scheduled. Lydia has been very helpful to us in doing that. She emailed us a good chunk of what we can get started on in the last week or so. So Julie and I have some work to do together, and then we'll be bringing it back to y'all.
All right, and Mr. Cargile, Ms. Ross, and I are on the facilities goal group. So we've been doing quite a bit of work, having meetings with ourselves and also Mr. Williams and Mr. Chapman and maintenance and Josh Miner. We've all been getting together, and we've been able to go out and tour several facilities in the area with different architecture firms and kind of see what they've done in terms of improving old high schools. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on is getting to know what's possible with old high schools and getting to know architects who might be able to help us make some improvements in the future. So that's what we've been working on. All right. No items removed from the consent agenda. So we are ready for open forum number 2. Nothing for open forum number 2. All right, would any board members like to request any items be placed on future board agendas? Okay, hearing none. We do not need to have a second closed session. So I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.